So, the story of the Buddha. There was this we call him a prince. He was a very privileged young man. His father was like a nobility, think of like the highest ranking knights and generals and things in the ancient world. And that's kind of the situation he was born into. So he was born into incredible wealth. And he had all his needs met, and really all his even little desires were met immediately. He was just really privileged. What we would call today, we might think, oh man, he'll be spoiled, but I don't think they thought that way back then. But anyway, he had all his needs met, everything he could possibly want. And he realized he was unhappy. At a certain point in his life, he realized he was unhappy. Now, there's a story that's told that his father hid from him all forms of suffering and illness, and I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that's really possible. And also, his mother died really soon after he was born, and he must have known his mother died, right? Because he was raised by a stepmother. So I don't accept the story that he didn't know anything about suffering, and one day he saw, the story goes, he saw a sick man, a dead man, and a homeless person, and he saw these things, and a very old person, he saw these things, and that made him inspired to overcome suffering. I think there's probably some truth in that, but I also think he knew about suffering. He was incredibly wealthy and had everything he wanted, but I think he knew about suffering at least a little bit too. But that was a big tangent. So anyway, he realized he was unhappy, and he decided he wanted to be a spiritual seeker. He wanted to just go away from ordinary life and go figure out spiritual truth. That was not incredibly rare in those days. That was a thing people did sometimes in those days in India. So what he did was he gave up all his wealth and he just left. And he went and he went looking for spiritual teachers, and he studied with a yoga teacher, and he learned a whole lot about that. And he realized that he didn't really find what he was looking for. He didn't find any spiritual truth there, although he found things that were useful. He didn't find the truth. He was trying to solve the problem of human suffering, and he didn't do that there. So then he went to study with a teacher that taught him breathing exercises, which are called pranayama, and he learned all these complicated breathing exercises and meditation, and still it did something for him, but he realized it wasn't really what he was looking for. So he resolved to make his own way. And he found this tree, and he sat under it, and he said, I'm going to figure out the problem of human suffering. I'm going to come to some spiritual awakening, and I'm going to sit here until I do. And the story is that he did. He just sat under this tree. The point is that we have the truth in us. Buddha nature is our nature. Our true nature is enlightened already. So therefore, by turning the light inward, we can find spiritual truths. We can, and that's why we practice meditation, really. And that's what he did. He just turned the light inward, and he analyzed himself and tried to figure out the truth of human suffering. And there are parts of the story that say, like, this being called Mara, this evil devil figure, shows up and showed him dancing girls to try to tempt him, and showed him scary monsters to try to scare him away, and then ultimately just said, who are you to try to attain enlightenment? You're not worthy. And what did the Buddha do? The Buddha touched the ground to demonstrate his worthiness, and this evil devil figure Mara disappeared. And the point is that Mara was his own creation, his own feelings of doubt and his own attachments and weaknesses manifesting as a being. It's a metaphor. And he was able to conquer and the most powerful was his self-doubt, his we're not worthy, I'm not worthy. And I think that that's something that we all struggle with. We struggle with thinking we're not worthy too. But the truth is, he was worthy. You're worthy. We're all worthy of this path. No one is left out, and that is one of the most important things about this journey. No one is left out. We can all do it, and we're all worthy. I hope this talk's been helpful. Thank you.